It's update time. We had a pretty bloody day today, and big momentum names and EV stocks and whatnot. They've been in a confirmed downtrend, but a little bit of pullback, and then more momentum down now. Anyway, I want to talk about. Looks like the market's rotating into some value stocks. Something like McDonald's here is not a big momentum stock, but it's a good long-term buy and hold type stock. This thing's kind of underperformed since about November here. Had a nice rally out of COVID, got a little overbought, consolidation. Now it looks like we're breaking out again. We kind of cut up to the 200 moving average here. So here's a 50. We broke down below the 50. Moving averages started to converge here, and they're all kind of grouped together right here. 50 is trying to cross back above 100. We reacted down here at the 200 moving average, and then we've got a big bullish candle right here. So I'm kind of liking McDonald's right here as a safe place to put some money for right now. The long-term trend looks pretty nice. And a couple of those I'm seeing. Hershey's a nice company. Another underperforming, consolidation, and now a breakout. Long-term trend, 10-year chart. Good long-term investment. This thing did kind of some consolidation for a few years right in here. And now we're on a pretty good trend right here. So, I don't know about you, but I love chocolate. Home Depot. Another one that's been kind of consolidating for since about September. This thing had a really nice rally out of COVID. Everybody excited about, people stuck home with COVID. They're projecting, and Home Depot, and then we peaked out here. We've just been consolidating, and now we're breaking out. Once again, we came down to this long-term rising trend line, the 200 moving average. So the market is seeing this as a nice pullback and kind of a value play. So really the opportunity was right down in here. If you draw your trend lines and have a nice charting platform to be able to draw these lines and look at long-term pictures, makes it easier to spot these things. So I own Home Depot, I own McDonald's, I own Costco. Let's look at Costco. Costco's underperformed, and we're coming back down to this long-term rising trend line. We drop below the 200 moving average, so these things just kind of can move in waves like this. So like I say, it's not a big momentum thing, but long term, I mean, you look at a 10-year trend line of this thing, and it's just, the stock is just phenomenal. So just patient long-term investing, much safer than trying to chase all this momentum and getting wrecked like what's going on right now. And I'm sure a lot of people are trying to buy the dip, but when the confirmed trend is down, the dip just keeps dipping. So basically, if we were using Ichimoku for this is still bearish, but I don't just look at Ichimoku, I also look at this long-term rising trend line. We've got this consolidation area here, which is kind of support, and we bounced from there pretty good. And look what Tankinson's doing now. It's made a hard U-turn. So we may see some more reaction here. These things don't just go straight up. So now we've got this downtrending 100, or this is a 50 average here. And then we got the cloud. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more grinding, but as long as we don't make a new low, I think this is going to eventually work its way out of the cloud here and resume an uptrend. These things can take time to evolve, but I like Costco here. I actually bought a little bit more a couple weeks ago. It just looked way oversold here and getting close to that trend line. So Facebook pulled back a bit today, but we're still above this wedge shape here. We came right down on top of the Tinkinson line, so I'm still kind of liking Facebook here. I already own plenty of it, so I'm not really buying any more right now. $282 a share is quite a bit more than I paid for it, so I'm good for right now. Here's a trade that I'm in. That's another mistake I made. But I'm not going to close it because we're back down to the bottom of this range that it bounces around in. So I think as soon as the market's oversold enough, we're going to see a bounce in these, and that'd be a better time to get out than right now. So I'm just kind of eating crow on this trade right now. And then my other trade was ZOM. These are just swing trades I have in just a small account. I'm doing for kind of for entertainment, you know, make a little bit of money if I can, but it's just a very small account. My big account's for investing. Just keep that money safer, but that's been pulling back as well. So ZOM, the bull flag pattern failed. This was the breakout I was playing right here, and this failed. This was actually probably the sell signal, this nice big bearish candle. But we're still above the indicators here, so I held on. And here we're still pretty much there. And then here I'm looking at, well, here comes the 50 moving average in the cloud. So I hate to close it with a loss now. I didn't have too much of a loss. But then today, bam, right down to the bottom of the cloud. So this is kind of the last leg of support right here. So I need to see what it's going to do tomorrow. And I may be closing this with a loss because basically, this goes against my rule of I don't chase momentum. I thought this pattern up here was very interesting, and we were seeing a correction going on, market-wide correction, and this basically was holding this consolidation area. So I thought, well, that's interesting. This stock is behaving differently than some of these other momentum names that are selling off. So I felt pretty bullish about this. So anyway, I'm at a loss in this trade, and I'm going to see what happens tomorrow. I may close this. But I already knew when I got into this trade that there was support down as low as, I think it was 155, I was saying. 150, yeah, these wicks. Sometimes I just go by the daily close, which would have been 175. And now we trade down to 153, so. Anyway, so yeah, big momentum sell-off today. AMC getting clobbered. This thing is very bearish, looks like. We may see a reaction right here at the 50 moving average, but that doesn't mean that it's just, you know, we're going back up to new highs. It's normal to see a reaction. Maybe we'll see a little green candle here, and then another move down is what I'm anticipating because, excuse me, it's a pretty bearish signal where you break above the cloud and then fail, and now we're back down below the cloud. So anytime you see price come up above the cloud and then right back down, that's basically a failed breakout. So this, I believe, is going lower. I wouldn't hesitate to say I think this trade is done, but things can surprise, and there's been a lot of bullish sentiment or people wanting to pile into this for no good reason other than greed. And sundial growers, pot stocks are looking pretty bearish. This thing's breaking down. So it looked like we were going to try to rally a little bit here, or at least go up and test this resistance, but we didn't even get there. And now we can see Kijenson's coming right down. That's a pretty steep So Kijinsen moves in kind of funny ways. It'll consolidate and stay flat, and then all of a sudden when we get price start to roll over, here comes Kijinsen, wham, like a hammer. That's kind of what I look at this like, as just a hammer coming down on the price. And now we got Tinkinson rolling over. So I think these are going to go down some more. Probably make near a new low or down near the bottom of this wick. So the way charts are looking right now, I'm thinking we're probably going to see a couple more days of selling pressure before we get oversold and see a meaningful bounce. We may see a little green candle here, back down, little green candle. But as far as a meaningful bounce, I think we're going to need to get oversold before we see that. That's just my gut feeling and looking at the chart. So it almost looks like tomorrow we might see a little bit of reaction, because I'm seeing a 50 moving average here too with SOS. So a lot of times price will react to this a little bit, like I say, maybe a little green candle, and then bam, back down. So I wouldn't be fooled if you see a little bit of green tomorrow or the next day. Don't be fooled by that, especially with these momentum stocks. These things are bearish right now. I would just avoid these, and I think that the market is rotating into some of these safer consumer staples, like I said, like Costco, Walmart. Did I cover Walmart? I'm liking the Walmart chart here. So we're bearish because we're below the cloud and below these indicators. But like I say, I like to look at long-term trends. And I mean, do you really think this long-term trend is done? It's just going to break down now? So there's always a chance. You never know with stocks, but this is a good reason for a trade, because you're right down this trend line. So if this trend line fails, you're not just waiting, like if you bought up here and you're just waiting in losses for this thing to come around. So this is where I like to buy these, and I think I will buy some more Walmart. I have kind of a light position in Walmart. This had a nice rally after COVID, and it's underperformed for a while. Pretty steep drop here. I think this drop was the market seeing a resolution to COVID. So, people aren't going to be shopping in Walmart as much because they're going to be going back to work, or they're going to be able to eat out, etc., etc. But there's nothing wrong with Walmart, believe me. So I'm liking that. CCIV, I've taken this trade for a little bit on speculation, hoping we get back up to this resistance area, and I was just going to take a short swing trade as we got above Tinkinson here, and we were holding this 50 moving average, and of course that failed, and this is looking pretty bearish now. So it looks like we would need to sell off for a couple more of these to get to a new low, possibly at the 100 moving average here, and then possibly another bounce. So we're looking for a series of lower lows and lower highs to confirm that the trend is still down. But you never know how long these new lows are going to take to evolve. So as long as the price is below the cloud and below these indicators, we have downtrending pressure. Okay, the best time to buy. I mean, I know people want to try to pick the bottom and get a good price and stuff, but something like this does not have a nice reliable trend line like Costco or Walmart or McDonald's. This stock just doesn't have it, so it's pretty unpredictable where it can go. I know the market's pretty bullish with this stock, but this thing looks like it has further to fall. NEO, pretty bearish candle right here today. So we reacted to the 200 moving average with this wick right here, and then we had our kind of a meaningful bounce here, suppressed by the Kijinsen line. Well, now the Kijinsen line's coming down, so by the time this irons out, Kijinsen's going to be down here, so the next bounce is going to be hitting resistance even lower, which indicates continued pressure and lower lows and lower highs until it's not. So if for some reason we stop right here tomorrow and we take off and we put in a new high up here close to the cloud, that could be an indication that maybe this sell-off is ending, but just have to give it time to play out. PLTR, market was pretty bullish about this stock, but this looks like I've seen this kind of consolidation range here. See where I put this support line? So we rallied up, bounced from here, tested again here, tested again here, and formed a long wick. And now we're testing it again. It looks like with this downtrending Kijinsen line, downtrending pressure here, I think this is going to break, and I think that this stock could fall considerably from here. I'm also seeing kind of a head and shoulders pattern here. So it'll be interesting to see this tomorrow. Looks like it traded up just 0.78% after hours, which is pretty weak, but I think another bearish candle here, and this thing's going to see an increased momentum sell-off, in my opinion. Jivo. So this was bouncing around inside the cloud. It almost looked like it really didn't want to die. It's acting differently than the EV stocks. This gasoline additive related stock. So it was trying to maintain a bullish stance. It got back up here in the cloud, rejected at the top, tested the bottom, came back up here again. Well, look at what Kijinsen's doing now. See how Kijinsen's rolling over? And boom, we get a big bearish candle today. So I'm estimating this is going to sell off further too. So some of these look like we might see a little bit of a tiny bit of a green day or bounce, and then so what may happen here is we may come up and put a little green candle here right at the bottom of this cloud before we go back down again and ultimately make a new low. I don't necessarily count the wick. If you count the wick, we got to go quite a ways down to make a new low here. But if we just count the daily close of the body of the candle, then our new low is down around in here. Plug power is pretty bearish. This is starting to get a little oversold. You see how far away we are from the Kijinsen and the cloud. So this is getting a little oversold. Got your 200 average down here. Quite often we'll see a reaction there. But we're not looking for long positions because we're below the cloud. If you want to try to play a bounce, you can look for a reversal signal and try to play it back up here. But that's dangerous because I just tried doing that with CCIV and I got burned on that one. So just because you see resistance up here doesn't mean that you can count on a little rally right back up there, especially with Kijinsen coming down here. So this is probably going to come down and form a flat line around in here, which will be your next possible bounce area. See, we didn't even get there here. Well, we got to react to the bottom of the cloud. Tesla flirted with this resistance line for quite a while, this downtrending Kijinsen. And now with this drop, I think Kijinsen, we're going to see this start to curve down and form another flat line down around in here, forming a new resistance barrier. Of course, the cloud will start to come down. So I think that Tesla will continue down at some point. probably making a new low. We got this consolidation area, put a support line here. Consolidation area down here at about 450. And I think it's pretty likely the stock's going to get there. But we will see. I don't have a crystal ball, but what I do have is Ichimoku. And the indicator works until it doesn't. So right now, price is doing what we're called respecting it. Okay, price is respecting this Kijinsen line. We couldn't get above it, and the cloud. Okay, so what we look for is when price is no longer respecting these bearish indicators, and ultimately we can get back above the cloud, and then it's time to party again. So I'll be ready to party when we get there. For right now, I'd be more interested in shorting it. Exxon. So I've been looking at this, and oil has been bullish. We've had a pullback, so I'm not really sure if this is a viable pullback or if we're going to see more selling pressure because we've dropped below these two indicators. But we did that over here too, and we reacted near the 50. But at some point we get to a point where that no longer works. So if I was going to buy this, I want to see another candle at least above Kijinsen here, so I have something to base my trade on. Because if you open a trade here, you're basing your trade on what? That it's got to go up or else, or you're basing it on the 50 moving average. So you need to give your trade room to breathe. So maybe you want to base your trade on the 50 moving average, and it has to stay above that to stay long. The cloud is down here, so I wouldn't base a trade off the cloud right here. We are above the cloud, so you want to be looking for positions to go long. But this is looking a little shaky to me. And then when I look at the long-term trend, 10-year trend, okay, this chart wasn't very nice to begin with. And we saw this huge oversold, kind of a W-shaped bottom. So we might be getting back up here where a reasonable channel, and that's a pretty sharp straight up move there. So I'm really not interested in buying or trading this right here. PLOK. So this has had a nice uptrend, but I'm starting to see this is starting to look like it's getting ready to fail. We've seen these bearish candles before, and it bounces from the 50. So if you want to get into this, it's a good place to base a trade because you're right here at the 50 moving average and the cloud. So you want to see this hold. Basically, you want to see a continued up move from here. I'm seeing this kind of like a double top here, and I'm just not sure about this one. It's up an awful lot, so I think that these stocks may be one of the next groups to fail. That's just my speculation. I'm just speculating here, and I would be pretty cautious about this trade. Didn't really go up after hours, so tomorrow is going to be kind of a decision day because. And then another thing we could just see maybe a small green candle tomorrow, and now we've got this Kijinsen coming down to put downward pressure. One or two little green candles, and then down into the cloud. Like I say, it just takes time for these things to play out. So be careful with that. But that is a good place to base a trade since it's right here at these support areas. So at least you have a nice tight area to base a trade and not have to accumulate a lot of losses before you get out. Vector Acquisition Group. I kind of like the story of this one, and I got in because it looked like it was breaking out of this this kind of descending wedge pattern here. So I got in on this candle, and I kind of got a spanking here today, but I'm not closing this trade yet because we're right here at the bottom of this. This is kind of a support area here. So I want to see what happens now. I'm not ready to take a loss on this yet. And I kind of like the story, so I'm just going to hang out. I'm going to be a little bit of a bag holder in this one, I guess. But yeah, so we came right to the bottom of this sort of consolidation, or this support here, bottom of the range. So we'll see what happens with there. RIOT, blockchain. Yeah, so like I said, this almost looks like it's going to be the next momentum ones to fail to me. So once again, this looks a lot like the other one we looked at. Good place to base a trade if that's what you want to do. But so the flat bottom of this cloud is support. The 50 can act as support. So you're right here close to the support area. But we didn't make a new low. It's a little bit like a double top. And pretty bearish candle right here. Be interesting to see where this goes. And I'm not trading it. I got enough going on. Here's a morning gapper I put on my radar. I haven't researched the news why this is going up. But if I was going to trade it, I would research it. But I just started watching it. But so this looks like it's going to roll over. This looks bearish because we see this long pin bar right here. And now we've got a bearish candle. But our indicators are right here. They're really tight together because there's just so much momentum. So this kind of trade is dangerous because there's no visible support really. It's just fast momentum. You can come down to a 30-minute chart and say, well, maybe I'll base a trade off this cloud. Well, this cloud is too steep, and we're below the Tinkinson. We had TK cross. Prices, this Tinkinson's pushing price down. So we need to see this reverse to get bullish on that. Which this is just a 30-minute chart. We're looking at 2 days worth of trading right here. Okay. Big bullish candle there, and now it's just bled off. We pretty much bled off that whole thing. This one's had a nice rally, and now it's turned bearish. We've gone into the cloud. MWK, Mohawk Group. Nice rally. This is when you want to be in them, when they're trending like this. Staying above Tinkinson, Tinkinson above Kijinson. All of our indicators are in the orientation we want for a bullish rally here. And now this was the signal to get out. We had a huge bearish candle underneath the Tinkinson line. Full body of the candle is underneath Tinkinson. So, and then we got the TK cross occurring here. So you should already be out of this if you're swing trading using this system. Facebook, I can't remember if we already looked at this, but so basically we broke out of this consolidation wedge, broke out. We had selling pressure today, came right down to this uptrending Tinkinson line. So I think to stay in this trade, I want to see the price stay above this consolidation wedge, which is basically the beginning of this breakout. We had 2 candles here, so I'm considering this the beginning of the breakout right here. So that's about 275, 280. I want to see the price stay above 275. I think is what I would consider. Okay, Walmart, Costco, Home Depot, we already looked at all those. So I think that's it for tonight. But yeah, I think rotating into some of these safer companies or beaten down names that have had a nice pullback, like Walmart, I guess just a safer place to put your money right now, or maybe sidelines with cash until we see a trend reversal, especially in these big momentum names that these things are just up so much that I think we're going to see this burn off quite a bit. I put a support line here for NEO. I know people are really bullish on this stock, but this thing could possibly trade back down to $10 here. We'll have to see how we do with this. We're trying to hold this 200 moving average here. So it's going to take time. All right, well, that's it for tonight.